right, folks, back on the Bossman Show. In front of the show, Pat, Kelsey, Charleston Cougars doing big things. 10-game winning streak going on right now. Pat, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Boss man.
Yes, we're
How you
doing it
doing?
again, brother. Loving life.
How'd you get that nickname?
My dad. My dad was the big boss man from the barbershop.
Okay.
And I became Jay, because I'm the junior, Jay Jr., JR the boss man. So I was a little boss man in the barbershop as a little kid. So that's where I stayed from.
That's a big time nickname, man.
Yes. And you know what, Pat? It's funny. My dad is still 82 years old, coaching ball and cutting hair still. 82 years old.
Praise God, man. That's awesome.
Yes. That's how I got it. But 4 years old in the barbershop, brother. 4 years old.
I wish I had more for him to cut.
Hey, me and you both, our hairline going back far too.
I know, right?
We both going through it, man.
Happens to the best of us.
Yes, indeed. Well, tell me this, Pat, man. Now you're in year two, man. What's been the big difference for you and your program from year one now to year two, doing what you've done so far this year, man?
Well, when you get to year two, building your culture, you have locker room full of guys that know what to expect, right? This summer was much different than the summer prior because we were just building it from the ground floor, right? We were building it from scratch. And to have so many returners that know our terminology, know the core principles of our program, and be able to, not only from the coaching staff, but player to player, to be able to, sell our message every day. And that's been a great luxury. We got great leadership from the guys that are returning from last year. And then even the pieces that we have added, several of the transfers, a couple of the grad transfers, those guys are all, they're just about what we're about. And we got a locker room full of leaders, and I'm lucky as a coach to have that.
No doubt. And 6-game win streak doing a non-con is very amazing. And you've won some close games. About the leadership, because you and I both know this is a possession game, man. So it's about possessions, making the key play cleats up at the right time. So talk about the leadership of your guys, do this winning streak, and having guys who played and understand what you do to get you over the hump in these tight games.
Yeah, we do. We have we have a roster full of guys that are winners and know how to win. And winning's hard. I tell them all the time. There's this chart, right? It's like a parabola, and it's called the mountain of average. And if you look down at the bottom of the mountain, if it goes like this, on both sides, there's very few of bad teams, bad organizations, bad businesses, because they don't last very long and they go out of business. And then on the other end, there's very, very few elite organizations and elite teams and elite businesses, because it's really hard to be elite, right? What goes into that? It starts with obviously the talent, but the belief in the system, the adherence and the excellence to the daily process, that's hard to do. And then where the majority of the world lives, teams, businesses, organizations, is in that what we call mountain of average. And it's what we fight every single day, to not be in that mountain of average, to do things different. And to this point, our guys have done everything we've asked, and it's a special group. We're one of the deepest teams in the country. We play 8 guys starter minutes, and it's what we call the power of the unit. It's each guy giving of themselves for the good of the whole. And I think that's a big reason that makes us special.
No doubt. And like you said, Pat, depth is very important, because knock on wood, we don't want it to happen. Injuries happen, and we both know that. So, having a deep roster of guys who you can trust in any given time to come in the game and play is a luxury to have as a coach. And like you said, being a football player, I know about being a team guy, giving up myself. Sometimes I wanted the ball, Pat. We had a running play. I didn't want to do it, but I had to block. So giving yourself up for the better of the team is something that's so important. And I'm glad you guys see that already, having a deep roster, guys who know they can play more minutes, but because it's better for the team, I accept my off the bench role, or my role as a screener. So it's great that you have it on your team already, brother.
Yeah, I'm lucky in that regard, and that's the makeup of our guys, the competitive character that they have, and the buy-in to what we're all about. And I'm very blessed and lucky to have the roster that we have, and it's the biggest reason that we've had such a successful season to this point.
And Pat, the CAA, man, has been, man, you all doing great this work non-con year, man. So about when you get into conference play coming up on the 29th of December after you play Coastal Carolina here on 19th, but your league is very, very deep, and adding Hampton and A&T now as well to the mix, man. Talk about this, what you all got going in CAA and Mama too, from top to bottom, brother, your league.
Yeah. To be honest with you, boss man, I'm not, I don't have the bandwidth and the wherewithal and the intelligence and the smarts to be able to look too far out in the future. Because what happens is, I trip over what's right in front of me, and we're pretty good at keeping blinders on and just focusing on the next thing. We're very well aware that conference play is coming. I'm very well aware of what you mentioned, the caliber of teams and coaches. I'm very well aware that throughout the months of January and February and then into early March, there's going to be knockdown, drag-outs, battles like there is every year in the CAA. But our sole focus is on the next thing, and that's, right now getting ready for Coastal Carolina. After that game, obviously our guys will have a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back and we'll jump right into conference play. But right now our sole focus is on the next deal.
No doubt about Coastal Carolina, Pat. Cliff Ellis, man, 900 wins, legend in our game. We both love. But about Cliff Ellis, what he's meant to the game of basketball, and we're simply his team on film right now, brother.
Yeah, I have the utmost respect for Coach Ellis. I've known him for a long time. I was the head coach at Winthrop for many years, and we were in the same conference as Coastal Carolina, and on campus in Rock Hill at Winthrop, and on campus at Coastal Carolina, the Winthrop and Coastal Carolina rivalry was, one of the most heated that I'd been a part of. And obviously they left the league my last several years at Winthrop, but we've had many, many battles. Played in the conference championship game on national television 2 years in a row against Coach Ellis and Coastal. And the one thing I'd say, amongst other things about Coach Ellis, yes, he's a Hall of Famer, a legend in our business, 900 games. Like, are you kidding me? Winning 900 games, that's elite. But the other thing is, he was very good to me when I first came into the league as a young coach that didn't know up from down, didn't know what the heck I was doing. And in those league meetings, he would kind of, give me some advice and give me some guidance. I remember one time we had our league meetings down in Hilton Head, and he was like playing the guitar down by the ocean. Like, he's a Renaissance man. Like, he'd sing and play the guitar, he'd coach hoop. He's just a really, really interesting guy with a big heart. He's always been really good to me. Looking forward to competing against him this week.
No doubt, man. And you know what? Said Cliff Ellis, like I said, I remember Auburn days. I was a kid. I remember I had our ball boy for him as a tournament in Atlanta.
Is that right?
That's how I remember Coach Ellis, man. Being a ball boy, SEC tournament at the Georgia Dome back in the day. It's wild, Pat. Tony Delk is a scout for the Mavericks now, right? And I told him, I said, Tony, that game for Arkansas, I was your ball boy as an 8-year-old kid, man. When you play Arkansas in that game of the Dome, he's like, making me feel old, JR. I said, Tony, I'm going to tell you the truth, man. I was 8 years old, ball boy for you. Go to the Dome, and you play Arkansas, man.
I know. It's just amazing, those moments that you remember doing those type of things. Like, on a totally different level. I mean, you were at big-time college level, ball boying for Tony Delk and those guys. But I remember one of my greatest memories from childhood is my uncle was the coach at one of the big high schools in the state of Ohio, and they were playing in the state championship in Columbus at old St. John's Arena, home of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And my cousin and I were on the floor as a ball boy for that game. One of my fondest, greatest memories, and I'm sure that's the same thing for you.
No doubt, Pat. I'm gonna tell you, man, we're blessed. Now I'm blessed, man. I told you before, man. I grew up 5 minutes from the Georgia Dome as a kid, right? So being able to cover the Falcons, the Hawks, the Braves, knowing that as a kid, I couldn't afford to go to these places, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm credentialed to be there every time I want to. So it's like, knowing that is how blessed the Lord has done for me, man. That's from going from a kid to where I am now. It's means living the dream. Like, I talk about Wilkins every day, which is amazing,
That's awesome. And the reason you're having such success is, to me, it's so obvious. It's just the passion that you have for what you do. I'm such a big believer in that, when you have passion, you work hard, you pour yourself into whatever endeavor you're involved with, you're going to have success in that. And I've always appreciated that about you. When you've had me on the show, you can just sense it. Even though we're on a computer screen, on a Zoom, we're not face to face, I can just feel, the energy with which you do what you do. And I appreciate that a lot.
No doubt, Pat. I'm gonna tell you, man. I enjoyed being in Cincinnati this summer. I went to the Western Southern Open. I saw Rafael Nadal play. He lost, but seeing Nadal play Upper Mason was fun, man. Going to Kings Island, man. I enjoyed that trip to Cincinnati this summer. Me and my buddies, Big Ten fans. So, man, I enjoyed your hometown, man. It was great to be up there, watch the tournament. You ever go to that tournament whenever you're in town? You go up to Mason?
Yeah, that's a world-class tournament. Besides the majors, my understanding is that's one of the biggest tennis tournaments in America. It's one of the Masters series. And it's kind of ironic. It's been the Western Southern Open for years and years. And just recently, a gentleman in his group from here in Charleston that also owns the tennis tournament here in Charleston and the tennis stadium here on Daniel Island, just recently purchased that tournament in Ohio. So kind of have a cool connection with that, but haven't been in years just because I've been out of town. When I come in town, it's just about seeing my family and my wife's family and seeing the nieces and nephews. And if I can sneak in a Bengals game or a Reds game, I do that, but haven't been in during those times when the tennis tournament's going on. But it's a big time deal. There's no doubt.
Well, I was there for the Falcon game this when they Bengals kicked our butts. Gave us a good butt whooping up there. I enjoyed being Pop Brown Stadium, but being on the field, man, and Burrow and those guys you got, Pat, man, Chase, Higgins, man, Boyd, man.
Well, here's a little secret that I think the whole world knows about sports and winning in building championships. My mom says this all the time. She didn't make up the quote. Some smart coach did. But she uses it all the time. She reminds me of it. It's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. I'm not a very good coach at all if I don't have good players. And, I have such respect for the culture that Zach Taylor and his staff has built in Cincinnati. You can feel it. The players are leaning forward. There's a bounce in their step. There's a belief. There's a way. And I have a ton of respect for that. But make no mistake, Joe Burrow's the real deal.
Yes.
He's the real deal. And in that sport, if you have an elite quarterback, and it's early in his career, and it's almost like blasphemy to say this, or for anybody to say this, but I've heard it said recently, he's the closest thing to Joe Montana that this league has seen since Joe Montana. And I watch every single Bengals game, and obviously, everybody knows about his confidence and his swagger, but just his Kobe Bryant-like mentality of winning, right? And of blocking out noise and stepping up in big moments and making big plays. He's got it. And obviously, he's got amazing talent around him like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and the defense has really come along, and we're a championship contender, and I think we're a Super Bowl contender. But make no mistake, Joe Burrow is the dude, boss man. He's that good.
Amen. Seen him twice this year in person. Once in Cincinnati, one in Tennessee as well against the Titans. I mean, you had no Jamar Chase out there. It was just T. Higgins and him for the most part. I think that's the game that Mixon got hurt too. And still, look at his eye, man. Got the job to a tough, tight team at home. Defense can't give you trouble with their pass rush. Joe stood cool in the pocket and just did his thing. And also, the line's gotten better too. Zach Taylor's doing a good job at the line. Samaje Perine back in Evans as well. The Bengals have weapons in every position, and I love it. I think
it's so much fun to see too, and it's kind of like, as a coach, you value this so much and appreciate it. When all those guys went down, Chase is down, and other guys step up. Joe Mixon goes down, our running back. Samaje Perine steps up and played at a championship level. That next man up mentality. And I hate to give the Pittsburgh Steelers props because nobody dislikes the Steelers more than I do because it's our bitter rival. But you got to tip your cap to their culture over the years. And they're not great right now, but decades of seeing them, have that culture and that next man up mentality and that toughness and that winning way. And to see the Bengals have that now is a like I said, a credit and a tip of the cap to what the coaching staff has built as well.
No doubt, Pat. I'll be cheering for your guys, man. I like the Bengals. I think I'm sick of the Chiefs and the Bills personally. So I want to see them go back, man, because I'm back in the day. I used to like Darnay Scott, Carl Pickens, and Asias and Jeff Blake and all those dudes. I used to cheer for them, play with them on my old Madden game back in the day, NFL action when I was a kid, man. So I love the jerseys back in the day, man. So yeah, I'll cheer for you guys. I want somebody different finally.
I mean, if a Cincinnati person heard this and heard you like mention those names, you would get major props, major street cred that your Cincinnati stuff. You're like, you're throwing out Darnay Scott, you're throwing out Shaken Blake, Jeff Blake, you're throwing out Carl Pickens. I was at Corey Dillon's game when he broke the all-time single game rushing record. My brother and I never forget it. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
I remember going to Riverfront Stadium. I remember going there with my father. I've been to the old stadium. I've been there.
Well, you mentioned not being able to get into the to the Georgia Dome. Luckily, I got in good and got to know one of the ushers, and he took a liking to me. So we would go up with some buddies and just kind of walk around the concourse until we made eye contact with him, and he'd kind of go like this, and he'd let us into a bunch of games. So I think the statute of limitations is passed where I or he can't get in trouble for that. But we got into a lot of games at Riverfront Stadium without a ticket. I can tell you that.
Let me tell you a quick story about that with the old Omni Arena with the Hawks. We knew how to get in there because there's some holes we can sneak in. We know how to get into old Omni Arena. It closed in '97. We know how to sneak in that joint too, man. So it was like, yeah, man, those were the days, man. I remember going to Riverfront Stadium when they actually put you all in Paul Brown, but those building Grand Metro Ballpark, right, which was a Reds game when it was still kind of there, the roof kind of half gone. So I remember seeing that look of the Reds game too, because I was a big Braves fan, of course. So we used to watch on the sports channel with Marty Brenneman and somebody else. Get who it was, his partner.
That's funny, man. Yeah. Yeah,
I know
your
about
stuff.
Cincinnati sports, boy. I know about.
You mentioned the Marty Brennemans. That's Cincinnati royalty right there, man.
Hey, man, I know about your town, brother. I grew up watching.
We just got to get our Reds going. It's the sad state of Major League, baseball and the economics that are involved with it. It's just really hard for, small market teams to compete. It's sad, and I don't know what the answer is there. I know I have my personal beliefs, and it will never change because, the big market teams and the Yankees that have hundreds and hundreds, even billion-dollar TV deals, and then their payroll can be what it is versus a small market team. And you see like the way the NFL has grown and evolved into the number one sport in our country, and it's not even close. But, and I'm a big believer that a big reason for that is whether you're in Buffalo, you're in Kansas City, you're in Cincinnati, or you're in LA or in New York, everybody has an equal chance to be competitive. And I think that has built an excitement and a fervor and a passion for that sport. And back in the 80s, when I was growing up, it was still that way in baseball, where it didn't matter who you were, you had a chance to have a championship team. And I think, households and kids, they grew up in that helped grow the passion and continue the passion of baseball. And I think the apathy that's kind of been built up, and you see these other sports that have leapfrogged the NBA and the NFL. And I think it's because there's not that passion for baseball at a young age. And part of that is like, I'm trying to get Johnny passionate about baseball. My son, Johnny, I'm trying to get him passionate about the Reds, and he's into it and he watches the games, but like, he's not into it like he's into the Bengals because he knows the Bengals have a chance to win a Super Bowl. We watch the Reds and they're 40 games below 500. It's like, Dad, what are we doing? No, you got to understand. It's the sound of the game, and it's the rhythm of baseball, and it's the Reds, and it's in our DNA, and it's in our blood. And he's like, whatever. Hey, let's go out and shoot some hoops. So
You know
And
what's
I'm
crazy,
okay with that
Pat?
too, boss man.
What's crazy is that, Pat, is my father had me as a young dude, man. Listen to the radio. We'd watch the game on TV. I had the radio on the same time. Listen to both at the same time. He had me out hitting. He showed me how to switch hit too, brother. He left it in there because my father, he wanted me. He said, son, he said to me, pick a struggle, son, whether it be football, basketball, baseball. I want you to do something sports wise. Well, I chose football and I was fast as a receiver, but he showed me all these sports and wanted me to know about them. And because my dad loves sports, he still does. He still coaches. He still coaches. So if my father has some sports, 82 years old, it's crazy. In his barbershop, he's like, nah, I know about all these things, young man. I said, oh, Mr. J, you old. My dad hates that. He said, 82 years old, I know more than you ever know about sports in your whole life, son. I argue with my pops about sports. He'll get on you to this day, man.
So cool to hear stories about your dad, and you know, he should write a book. You talk about a slice of Americana, right? Like just the institution that the barbershop is, and the stories that he could tell, and just the wisdom that guys like that have, just because it's the hub of conversation in America. So what a cool thing. And I love to hear you speak of reverence of your father. You can tell when you talk about him how close you guys are, how much you love him. And I feel the same way about my dad, man. That's really cool.
And Pat, his barbers are he's 82. Mr. Ray, 77. Mr. Ed is 73. We got two young dudes. So three OGs and two young dudes in the barbershop with him with his 5 chairs, man. And my dad makes good money with his booth rent too. He said,
That's awesome.
I don't have to. I make money off their booth rent.
So my great grandfather, might have been my great grandfather, but I think it was my great grandfather, was a barber, and his barber shop was just less than a mile, maybe a quarter of a mile from old Crossley Field, which was the Reds Stadium before they built Riverfront Stadium. So my grandma would tell me about how, you know, teams would come into town and he would cut the hair of, you know, these famous baseball players and things like that. Somehow I got that talent. Like I started cutting hair when I was probably in grade school, 7th and 8th grade. And then I became the guy throughout high school that cut all of my guys' hair. As you can tell, I'm not very talented because I cut my own hair. I cut my son's hair. I'm a big clippers guy. I'm not a big scissors guy. So tell your dad, big tip of the cap, because I got a lot of respect for guys that have talent up top.
You know, you got that right in. Pat was talking about my dad. He knows every one of my guests. He looks up you all himself.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes, he plays me in the shop. This is my son talking to this coach. Look at my son. I know about this guy. I have to see what this guy's done.
That's awesome. Will you tell him I said hello?
He'll hear this. Yes, he'll see that here. I would definitely tell him. Yes, the big boss man, JC. You know, that guy's a great guy, Pat. Hope y'all come to Atlanta. Y'all play here one time. You can meet this guy. You would enjoy talking to my father for an hour in his shop. He can buzz you up and everything for the game start.
Love it. I love it. I'll do that, man. Let's do it.
No doubt with Pat, man. Let's really talk to you, my brother. Glad you're 11-1, man, doing big things over in Charleston. That's the job, man. So we do this again, Rich. I will text you off there about what we talked about before the interview started. So I hope that happens for you, brother. You talk to your legends of your Bengals, man.
Yeah, man. You told me off air that you know Solomon Wilcox and Adam Pac-Man Jones. Those are 2 other Bengal legends. So yes, you can introduce me to them, man. Like, geez, I owe you.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'll make that for you, my brother. Hey, Pat, man. Merry Christmas, man. Hope you and the wife and the kids have a great time this holiday season. Enjoy some time off as well, brother. I know you work grinding like crazy, bro. Enjoy some time off, man, with your family, brother.
All right, boss man. Good seeing you, buddy. Thank you.
See you, Pat. See you, brother. Take care, man.
See you, man.
All right.